Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to do something a little odd, I guess, but I want to kind of show you where I sit in terms of Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is a great way for everyone here to understand my taste, understand my perspective on things, and by using this perhaps as a baseline, you might be able to understand where I'm coming from when I am judging or critiquing certain things. Okay, so sometimes when we listen to reviews, it's hard to judge whether something is really good or not because the reviewer will have biases. And while we all have biases, we can do our best to be as fair as we can, to be as objective as we can. And I do think that's part of the role of being an actual reviewer. However, uh, sometimes reviewers will have certain foibles or certain, I don't know, skill sets and things that can give them a specific perspective. So perhaps from this, you will be able to see my perspective on films or on creative projects. And from there, we can make some general suggestions. So let's go through this. I made a tier list. It's pretty basic. We got your S, your A, your B. We got almost there, which is basically C. We got some D stuff here. So this D stuff is going to be, let's make it green. Um, so this D stuff here is somewhere between broken and cringe. So this means that the story is just poorly bad, poorly developed, or it might be really um, like okay or still bad, but it's there is a level of production value there somewhere. And then of course I have complete fails and didn't watch. Now there was a bunch I didn't watch. So um I'll put them down there, but even if I do put them down there, I might toward the end kind of put where I feel like it could be. But once again, you know, uh, I don't I don't really want to give an actual review on something I haven't seen all of or I haven't seen at all. Okay, so for example, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp here. I didn't watch it. I know that I think it was just very meh. So a lot of people might put it under almost there, right? Somewhere in a C category. Some people might put it in failboat or cringe. But once again, I didn't watch it, so we are here where this is me. I kind of have given up a lot on Marvel and I'm incredibly critical of where it's been going. So yeah, so you'll see what I mean as I go on. Okay, so what we have here is we have the first Ant-Man. The first Ant-Man is, well, it's okay. Is it I'm going to put it in B for now just because I liked the concept of the little man versus the big man. That's kind of cool. I like the fact he was a dad, and it's kind of dealing with being a deadbeat kind of person and growing out of that. So that part is nice. I like Paul Rudd. I find that the humor is not so cringy in Ant-Man, at least the first one, right? But it's not a great film. So we're going to put it in B. All right, so this is where I think people are going to start to uh, hate me. Um, the Avengers. Yeah, I did that. Is this Age of Ultron? Yes, this is Age of Ultron. So once again, I think Age of Ultron has some amazing moments. Like for example, I really love James Spader. The moment where he's like, "I've I've got no strings to hold me down" or whatever. I thought that was incredible. So for me, I think there was something really interesting going on with James Spader's character and really talking about what happens when um, something that was supposed to help us, like AI or robots, goes very wrong. Very much kind of similar to the lesson of Hermes from Final Fantasy XIV Online. So I'm going to put it in B though, because for it to go into S tier, it has to be doing something really crazy narratively and also be an amazingly written, right? For it to be A, it has to be doing something sort of creatively, amazing and also be very good. But not necessarily be super good with writing, but have something interesting going on that I think got me thinking. And Ultron did not really get me thinking. So there's that. Okay, so here's Miss Marvel. I'm going to put it down here and didn't watch, but if I have seen a couple scenes from Miss Marvel, and if I was going to put it anywhere, it would go in Failboat for me because I think the way they depicted her as a strong woman was not great. I didn't like her at all. I thought she was not good. Okay, another film I did not see was Norton's Hulk. Probably I should see it, but I didn't. There we go. There, I said it. Okay, so we have Winter Soldier, and I'm going to put it up in the S tier for now. I might move it down, but I'm going to put it up here. Now, the reason why I'm putting it up here is because, first off, the music is really good. Second, the concept of the Christ-like figure and the man who could not take the life of his friend, even though he's being brutalized, to me was so moving and so powerful. It it was on a whole other level. There's a moment where Steve is clinging to an iron bar, and then I think he's holding on to a helicopter. Anyway, it just gave me strong kind of cross imagery. It gave me strong vibes about how friendship is between two men, and how this very tight bond that is not at all um, sexual. It's very much about brothers in a sense, and true friends between two characters, and these people are hurting each other because of circumstances really outside of their control to a large degree. And the fact that Captain America refuses to give into evil, he wants to overcome evil with good, is really a beautiful, just a beautiful thought. Captain America. Gonna put it at the top of B for me. I could go up at some point, but for now I'm going to stick it here. It never stood out to me as being particularly interesting. I thought the villain was meh. I know that the concept is pretty good because it's about a guy who becomes a big guy and then understands what true strength is. So there's something positive definitely going there, hence why it's at the top of B. But to me, I feel like there's an aspect where I was bored. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not really into. Uh, maybe it's because I'm not really into war films or stuff. I don't know, but um, we're going to leave it at B for now. But that might change, right? Which one is this? This is the Infinity War. So I'm going to be frank. The Infinity War is probably going to confuse me a little bit. So I'm going to do uh, a little, let's go like this. You did not see that. Okay, so Infinity War is the one where Thanos does his snap. Oh gosh, this is going to get spicy. I feel like the message in Captain America is a bit stronger than what goes on in Avengers. A lot goes on in Avengers, but I don't think anything thematically amazing is going on. It's really just big bad gathering stones. Now, there's this whole thing where Thanos is seeking to bring balance to the universe and he's supposedly good, but I don't feel connected to that at all. I understand what's being said there. I think it's cool, but if we had a maybe more moments with Thanos to see why he would want to have that balance, um, then I think it might matter a bit more. I guess thematically, on a level, the concept of how toxic seeking balance might be is very fascinating and very different. So we're going to keep it at the top of this list here, but I just don't see it as being as compelling as what we have in Captain America. So maybe Captain America will have to actually move up. Maybe we'll do that for now. Okay. Civil War. I feel like for me, Civil War was a very strong film. Number one, it really had the Avengers fall apart, which was great. I love this feeling that the stakes are real. The final scene where Captain America and Bucky are fighting Iron Man was very powerful to me because it shows how ideology and memory and personhood and identity can literally turn neighbors against each other or friends against each other. I also really loved how they handled Z. I know that people think I'm probably crazy about this, but Zimu for me, this whole thing, he's always listening to this recording. I just thought it was really cool. Like the fact that it's actually his dead family and Black Panther gets a moment to have this character growth thing where he's able to talk and speak into this and basically be like, no, you gotta face the music. You can't just kill yourself. You're gonna have to live with what you've done. I think I really liked that. I also really loved the fact that Captain America versus Tony Stark are actually representing two sides of an actual debate that basically spilled out into our lives during COVID. Because if this was about COVID, Tony would be pro vax and Captain America would be not necessarily anti vax, but he would be what I would call like choose your own base it on your own convictions and what you think is important for your life and stuff like that. So there's something about the balance between personal freedom and personal convictions that Captain America represents, and then social responsibility and bonds that Tony represents, oddly enough. And it's really strange because you would think that it would actually be flipped for these two gentlemen, but not that is not the case. So that's a really powerful film for me. I think it's really great. I'm going to put Doctor Strange. I'm going to put him actually above. I can't believe I'm doing that after just saying so much good stuff about Civil War, but Doctor Strange borders on the Christ-like figure that we see in the Winter Soldier with Captain America. So Doctor Strange achieves this moment where he's battling Dormammu, and his answer is not to use power, but instead to sacrifice himself eternally to pain in order to basically stave off Dormammu. And I think this is maybe underestimated by a lot of people. Like, I think a lot of people were very confused by how the villains were portrayed in this film. It certainly is not a perfect film, but if I'm talking about it on a thematic level, which to me matters a lot, okay, so if the thematics are really strong, it's going to help me override a lot of other little issues that are going on. So I'm not going to get hung up on the nitty gritty of, let's hunt some orc if the rest of the film is very good. And so for me, I feel like between the truths that Tilda Swinton was talking about how this is actually a journey from modern man back to mythology and faith. To me, I think this is so fascinating and really beautiful. I love Tilda Swinton. I thought the music, like Winter Soldier and Doctor Strange, has very specific music that I think is almost immediately identifiable. And like I said, very similar to Avatar, Aang, Doctor Strange overcomes evil not but with more violence or more evil, so to speak, but with good. So with a more pacifist approach, he will do no harm. And so even though it comes at great cost to himself, he will do no harm. I find that really gorgeous, really beautiful. I'm almost tempted to put it up there, but I won't because there are some aspects of it that I think are imperfect, but I still really loved it, and I will fight for Doctor Strange, um, with my dying breath. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this is the first one. We are going to put it here. I can't say much about this because I think this is just a romp. It's just a romp. It's just a fun time. We're just here to have fun. Ronan is not anything, Nebula at this point isn't doing anything fantastic or anything cool. Honestly, it's very kind of like it is what it is. You know what I mean? But I love the music. I love what I love the characters. Rocket Raccoon is my favorite. Um, he's actually probably in my top 5 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe characters. So I really do love Rocket. I love the music. I love the kind of the joyous energy of the film. It's just it's the power of friendship at its most basic, and that could be said about almost anything on the B tier. It's just very basic in terms of thematics, but the writing is pretty good. Volume 2, however, do I want to get it more than Civil War? See, Volume 2 is about dads, and this to me is always like a major thing. If a film is saying something about fatherhood, I'm an immediate sucker. Um, so, personal freedoms versus social responsibility or fatherhood. I think these are interchangeable. They're really on the same level in terms of powerful narrative. The part where he's like, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," and then he saves his erstwhile adoptive son, and then Yondu dies. To me, I think that whole scene, the part where everyone shows up for his funeral to give him final honors, is was so moving. I actually teared up. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't tear up in Civil War. I'm gonna have to put it here. I'm gonna have to put it here, even though technically I think Civil War is saying something really heavy and thoughtful. There's something emotional and archetypal about the exploration of the tyrannical father with the protective father. And I thought that was really powerful. Okay, what is this? Avengers Endgame. Oh, this is another one. I'm going to put it there for now. The reason I'm putting it there is because it still is very much the power of friendship, people getting together. But that one scene where Black Widow and Hawkeye are literally fighting to be the ones to die was incredibly moving. I thought there were other scenes in there that were very fascinating and cool. So I just think that it's pretty good. But then on the other hand, they massacred Thor. Oh, that really bothered me. If I recall correctly, I didn't like that at all. Was it this film where they massacred Thor, or was it in Infinity War. I'm going to put it before Infinity War because I do think it was better than Infinity War. Maybe people would disagree with me on that one. So I enjoyed Endgame more. I did love that scene where Hawkeye and Black Widow were fighting to basically die, and I love that part. Um, is this Homecoming? Homecoming? I feel like I saw one of these. So this one was not one I saw, but if I was going to put it anywhere, it would probably go in B. Iron Man 2, almost. Uh, mm, let's put it almost there. Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, meh. Iron Man 1. People are probably going to start wanting to kill me in the comments. Feel free to comment down below. Okay, I actually did watch Black Panther and I came out of it and I was like, what? Now, first off, I am all about looking at the past and looking at alternative ways of conceptualizing culture and civilization. I think to suggest that we have somehow reached the capstone of what culture or civilization can look like is very terrible and short sighted. So, looking at alternative forms of meaning and alternative ways of making sense of the cosmos to me is very important. So, this is where I think having multiple voices or diversity in our narratives is very crucial. However, Black Panther is not it. Wakanda is no more than an African American's vision of what African culture is. This is not to say that their vision is necessarily morally or ethically wrong, but what it is to say is that it is basically judging African values and cultural stuff by Western standards, and in some ways by making Wakanda as technologically forward as they did, they actually are feeding into the ongoing, concepts about what advancement looks like. So I'm all for saying, hey, look, Europeans and Asians and everyone, we've all got to this place where we are and we can all celebrate that. I'm not suggesting that. But what I'm trying to suggest is that if you're going to come to me as a woke person and say, I'm pushing back against white supremacy or European cultural supremacy, then don't make Wakanda a technological haven, because that's only feeding into those stereotypes that you're supposedly battling against. Honestly, I would have been more impressed if they'd gone with organic technology instead. So what it felt like was Black Panther was bringing America into Africa in a way that wasn't very helpful. And I think I started rolling my eyes when they literally at one point are interacting with poor locals who are not necessarily within Wakanda. That's not the vibe I got. If the writers intended otherwise, they did a poor job of showing what they really intended. So the idea being that we have these non-Wakandans or these extraneous African people who are keeping Wakanda's secret just because we are all part of one group. It just came off as cringe. The ending scene for Jordan's Killmonger was cringe. I loved Michael B. Jordan. I thought he was incredibly attractive. I have great respect for the deceased actor for Black Panther. My condolences to his family, etc. There is a lot of talent within that film. I think the music was great and stuff, but it was bogged down by trying to make a statement about African American experience and not actual African experience. And there is a difference between the two. So Is it wrong to want to make a statement about African American experience? No, but don't package it as being African then. And I think that to conflate the two cultures is really silly. And I should know because my father is a Dutch immigrant. I do not conflate my culture with Dutch culture. That's it. Like these are two different things. What is this one? Is this one the one with? I think I've seen this one. Okay, so we're just going to put it up here. Nothing about Spider-Man these days has my interest. It is just unfortunate. Thor is going to go up here. Why am I putting it up there? I actually think the first Thor film is an incredibly strong movie. Part of the strength lies in the very fragile interpersonal dynamics that are going on. And I think a lot of people also have really misunderstood or have forgotten the details of this incredibly complex story because if we actually go back to it, Thor began a war. Thor began a war that forced Loki and Odin into conflict, okay? And then Odin collapses after sending Thor down. And Frigga gives Loki the staff and says, "Make your dad proud." And Loki then has to lead his people during a supposed time of conflict. Now, Loki's response to the situation is to be just like his dad, basically, or just like the old version of his dad. And he proceeds to attempt to wipe out his actual parent and culture, the Jotuns. So a lot of people think that Loki is this ultimate villain, but they're actually coming off of what I think is an incredibly flattening Avengers Assemble. The original Thor film is much more nuanced because in some ways Loki did nothing wrong. Did he do something ethically wrong? Yes. But did he do something wrong within the mores or within the expectations of Asgardian society? And the answer is technically no. So this makes Thor 2 incredibly terrible and sad to watch. I interacting with Thor 2 is kind of like picking up a mug that you love and you've dropped it on the floor by accident, it's broken, and you are cradling the pieces and it's cutting your hands. Thor 2 has one of the most powerful soundtracks for the MCU. Thor 2 is very stylistically interesting to look at. I like the dark kind of feel. The fact that they kill off Frigga and have her funeral, I thought that was very powerful, but almost everything else failed. Odin is out of character. Natalie Portman is behaving like an idiot. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Jane Foster was behaving like an idiot. You have weird plot lore going on. Loki's death was retconned. So some of the most powerful moments in this film were subsequently undercut by studio executive decisions. And I think it really, really harmed this film. And Thor Ragnarok, as far as I'm concerned, is part of the problem. But it is technically more brilliant than the others. So I'm going to put it here. Now you might be going, this is tragic. Why are you putting it there? Well, think about it really. This film is well done, but it's a Twinkie. Let's all be real here. Let's not get this twisted. Like Thor, what actual growth does Thor experience? I swear this whole franchise, the Thor franchise, has been so mishandled. It is enough to make a writer weep. So Thor is just poorly managed altogether. And although there are a lot of fun moments in here, and there's a fascinating discussion to be had about imperialism or what Hela represents versus what Odin represents, there's something about regret, there's something about change. But it's still very surface level, I'm afraid. I think things just got really jokey. And although we have a moment where, in some senses, Thor appears to be switching places with Loki, I just feel like Thor Ragnarok is heavily impacted in a negative way by Thor 2, the second Thor, Thor the Dark World. And I think Thor Love and Thunder, I haven't watched it, but I'm fairly certain it is also just taking everything down. So I'm just going to get out of the way. I haven't seen the Black Widow film. I don't actually have any opinion on that. I wish it was good. I hope it is good. Maybe one day I'll see it. Let me know if I should watch it. What If, same thing. I love alternate universes. One of my fanfic for Loki and the Marvel Cinematic Universe was high fantasy alternative universe. So I'm not against alternative universes. I may check this out one day. Hawkeye, didn't see it either. Love Hawkeye. Um, was it good? Let me know. I did watch Loki. Okay. I'm going to put Loki in. Oh gosh, I don't even know everyone. Oh, I want to put Loki in cringe because him falling in love with himself was so poorly handled, it was cringy. How is it possible to have a fairly plain looking woman? So you got to give kudos, right? Sophie is very plain looking. So they're not going for a full Mary Sue, but she has every other characteristic that is Mary Sue. And they didn't even like make her at least sexy. Like at least Loki has this kind of sensuality about him that needs to be present and it's just lacking in her. She's like a pancake. So it's almost like a weird bizarre cross of self-insertion of somebody and a Mary Sue. It's wild. And then they take the best thing, right? The thing that I came for was the Owen Wilson, Tom Hiddleston interplay. And I got it. I loved that part. So that was all good. The one episode with all of the Lokis, that was also really good, actually. The heartfelt moment where the oldest Loki raised an illusion of the city of Asgard was gorgeous and beautiful and heartwarming and did all the right things, but almost everything else in the show was either cringy or even broken. And this is really sad to me because we all came here to see like a monster of the week kind of thing with two buddies, right, on a field trip through time, kind of like Doctor Who meets MCU. And we got instead this girl who's anyway, I'm look, I've paired Loki with some pretty crazy people you wouldn't even believe, but holy crap. Part of the show was so hampered by what they were trying to do with Sophie. If like Sophie was gone, I would put it up in here. But because of Sophie, I got to put it down in cringe. What is okay. I'm going to put it there because the woke BS is not as high as in Black Panther, but it's practically next door to Black Panther. WandaVision, didn't watch it, but if I was going to put it anywhere, it'd probably go under almost there, maybe after Loki. Eternals, didn't watch that either. Heard that was failboat, like just utterly failboat. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Wow, look at this. You can see where my interests kind of went down. Daredevil. Okay, let's get this up here. We got to get it all the way up to here. Gotta put it there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put it there. I don't think Daredevil's saying anything really crazy thematically, although I think Fisk is a very nuanced villain. And I just really believe that they sussed out the characters between, what's his name, Foggy or whatever, and Matt Murdock. I thought that the relationship between these two men was just so on par. I like what was being said with the character of Elektra, which was Gone Girl, kind of like bad girl leading you down the path that rocks, but also is tearing you apart. I really enjoyed Daredevil. The first Avengers is going to go here. I know, I can't believe I'm doing that, but I'm going to be frank. I just think it was not. It was fun, but if we step back and take an actual look at what's going on, there's some stuff in there that felt a bit a little bit too jokey for me. I don't know. Is there anything else here I haven't seen? Haven't seen Morbius. Haven't seen Legends. Look at this. I'm just haven't seen this. Have not seen She-Hulk, but if I did, I would put it in Failboat. I'd put it in Failboat. Haven't seen Wakanda Forever. Not seen this. I don't even know what that is. Guardian of the Galaxy. I think this is like a repeat, so I'm going to just put it there. Yeah, so these look like repeats, so we're just going to put them there. Okay, so I have actually seen Deadpool, and I would put it... there. I think the humor in Deadpool is better than the humor in Avengers. Take that, Joss Whedon. Okay, I've not seen Loki 2, but if I was going to watch it, I would probably keep it. I would probably bring Loki down. Yeah. Depression. Miss Marvel, haven't seen that. Don't want to, actually. Defenders, I actually have seen that. Defenders was fun. Oh my gosh, am I going to do this? I am. Okay. This is going to sound weird, but I got into the Netflix shows quite a bit. And so when I had that moment in the elevator where they're all talking together, I actually felt more tied in to the actual Avengers. I will, however, move it over, I guess, one, because I guess technically in terms of filmography and production value, Avengers is higher than the Defenders. But if I'm going to be honest, I watched Avengers before I saw some of the first stuff because I was in China at the time. So when I finally did get to see Avengers, it wasn't until after a while, and I had missed out on everything except Thor. So I actually didn't watch Avengers for any reason except to see Loki. Yeah, that's where I was at. So I saw Thor. I was electrified. I had to see more of Tom Hiddleston. I had to see more of Loki, specifically because there was some personal things that I felt very much in tune with in terms of Loki in the first Thor film. So I wanted to see what they did with him. And so then I saw Avengers, and I didn't get that high that everyone else got from seeing everybody together. I did get that high with Defenders, and that is why that is up there. I actually also watched Iron Fist, and I'm going to put it here. So it's not like the best thing, but it's not the worst thing. It's pretty good. Didn't see Venom. Didn't see Madame Web. Good Lord, no. I heard Echo is complete failboat trash. More What If. Didn't see that. Didn't see the Marvels. Didn't see Deadpool 2, but I do want to watch it. Didn't see Craven. Didn't see Secret Invasion. Quantum Mania. Which one is that? I didn't see that clearly. Clearly. Venom. Didn't see that. Okay, so I feel like I didn't see Multiverse of Madness, but I do want to watch it. And critique it because I heard that it would basically go somewhere in cringe or broken or something like that. Okay, so I did watch some Jessica Jones, but I didn't watch all of it. And I would put Jessica Jones. There. I just think David Tennant and Jessica Jones talk about female fragility and power and how you can be a really powerful person, but you can also be incredibly effed up. And I think there is this fine line where Jessica is clearly flawed and David Tennant's character is a complete psychopath and it I just think that there's a lot of things that were subtly done well with Jessica. I think if anyone wants to write girl bosses, they should take a page out of that book because out of every girl boss that I've seen, that one is probably the better one. Holiday special. What is that even? I did not watch Luke Cage or Punisher. Um, but I knew enough about them from the other stuff. And I think I watched a little bit of Luke Cage, but not enough to make a definitive statement about that. So these Love and Thunder. Oh Lord, I bet that would go in a fail boat, right? Am I right? Yeah. Okay, so these are all the old Spider-Mans, and I'm gonna come out here and say that I have about as much memory of the original Spider-Man as like I don't know. It's okay. So I did watch this one, and for me, let's go this way. People are probably going to hate me for doing that, but that's where I'm putting it. It's just, very standard. I don't feel like it was saying anything specific that made me go, oh my gosh, this is a thing. Is this Andrew Garfield's? Because if that is, I've seen it. And I'm just going to put it there. I'm actually going to put that there. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. I have no memory of that. I feel like I might have seen it. Okay, so we got Moon Knight. Moon Knight is going to go. Actually loved Moon Knight. I really liked it. Got to think about where I'm going to put it. But I'm going to think. Okay, so it's about a man who's falling apart psychologically. It has multiple personalities in it. It has gods and goddesses. I'm gonna put it up there. I loved it. I liked it. I'm there. I said it. It got me thinking. I had a feeling. My feeling was validated by the end. I kind of like this idea of a man's shadow literally having various voices in his head. I thought Oscar Isaacs did a fantastic job acting all of these personalities, and on top of that, the music got me into Arab trap music. What can I say? So these are I'm assuming these are the Tobey Maguire classics. So I'm just going to move everything up here because now we got all of that. So I'm going to talk about the classics first, and then I'm going to talk about Shang-Chi because Shang-Chi is where the contention is going to lie for some people, I think. So Spider-Man is very good. How good is it? I feel like it could go in A or B. You see, I haven't watched it in so long. I almost want to put it in its own category because I honestly feel like I might not remember how powerful it is, but there was Spider-Man 3, I think, was pretty good, if I recall correctly. And we'll put Spider-Man 2. You know what? I'm going to move Infinity War down. And then I'm going to move Iron Man up. Ant-Man. I can't believe I'm doing this, but this is what I'm doing. Can you believe it? What am I even doing? Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But anyway, this is where we're at now. And this is all in preparation for the first Spider-Man, which I think I'm going to put in here. This is very loosey-goosey, and I have no memory of Spider-Man 2. So this tells me it probably is meh, like it's not criminal, but it's not, whatever. I could be so wrong. So please, everyone, the Tobey Maguire thing, I need to rewatch it. It is what it is. And then Shang-Chi is going to go up here. And in terms of writing, it is not as good as the others. But in terms of thematics, it is incredibly powerful. So I'm going to put it there. There you go. Now, why am I doing this? So yes, is it kind of jokey? Yes. Is it more kind of in line with a lot of these B tier? Absolutely. But the reason why I'm putting it up here is because there is an aspect of Shang-Chi that is saying something more than these things down here. Okay, so these things down here are just power, friendship, we all get together kind of thing. Ant-Man is probably the closest to Shang-Chi in terms of thematics because it's about man become less deadbeat. So technically, both of those two and maybe the original Guardians of the Galaxy, all three really show men who are struggling to be men, learning to become more men in a sense, right? So I really appreciate that out of all of them. But I think Shang-Chi has these moments in the movie that are so powerful. And I think as well the music stands out. So for me, the music for most of these is very specific. I would say Doctor Strange, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, all of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Daredevil music, Moon Knight music, and Shang-Chi music have the strongest soundtracks in the MCU, followed by Iron Fist, and even actually Black Panther's music is pretty good, and Thor the Dark World. Okay, so if we're talking about music, like this would be totally different. Okay, so thematically speaking, I think this is the most powerful because of the Christ-like imagery and laying down your life for a friend kind of thing, and the writing is very strong. I could even move this up because once again, we have that very different approach to dealing with the enemy that is very wholesome and powerful in its own right. And it does represent a return to spirituality and inner wholeness that I think we need to start thinking about in this day and age. I'm thinking, should I move anything else up? I'm just going to leave it. So let's go again. S tier, we have Winter Soldier, Doctor Strange. A tier, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Civil War, Thor, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Captain America, the First Avenger, Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man 3. Now, I could be wrong about Spider-Man 3. I'm having serious doubts about the Spider-Mans because it's been too long. And then for B, so B means it works, it makes sense, it's okay, it's all right? And B includes Endgame, Guardians of the Galaxy #1, Ragnarok, Iron Man, Ant-Man, the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Deadpool, Infinity War, Avengers Assemble, Defenders, Avengers Age of Ultron, No Way Home, and The Amazing Spider-Man. So that would be Garfield Spider-Man, which I actually did enjoy. Now, things that are almost there, so these are not complete messes. They still make sense narratively, but they maybe have some poor writing or poor direction. We have, or it just didn't stand out to me at all. So we got Homecoming. We have Spider-Man 2, Iron Fist. Wait a minute. What Spider-Man had the Tobey Maguires coming back? Does anyone here remember? Which one is that one? Because that one had the nostalgia bait, didn't it? So Spider-Man, is it Homecoming? Because I saw one of them in theaters. No, it's not. No Way Home. 2021. Because this was. Oh yeah, here we go. No Way Home. Where is it? Where did I put it? Okay, so I put it in B tier, but it had Tobey Maguire in it, and it was clearly nostalgia bait. It moved up one spot. Well, there you go. I bet there's like some Tobey Maguire fans who are like crying somewhere in the distance. I'm sorry, everyone. Um, I think there's some hype around. I think it's so interesting that all three of these films are standing side by side here because Infinity War, Avengers, Defenders, and Spider Man No Way Home all involve groups of characters that are separated coming together into a single volume. And it creates this weird feeling when you watch it. I don't know the name for it. I bet the Germans have a name for it. And I just love it. So for me, cringe is Black Panther. And if I was going to put more into cringe, it would probably be stuff like Marvel, probably Eternals. Morbius is probably super cringy. I'm going to put probably, where's that Echo? I heard this is a complete failboat. So these are possible failboat situations. Wakanda Forever is probably, once again, these are films that might have some production value going on. The acting might be good, the music might be good, but the writing might be really, okay, let's maybe put Morbius under broken. But this level here is the messaging is too powerful for what is going on. Like it's just out of control, too powerful. Is this broken? Is the second Doctor Strange broken? Question mark. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think. Black Widow, it probably is somewhere in almost there, isn't it? Probably Hawkeye as well. It's probably like it's not a complete travesty, but it's nothing that's going to get you watching Disney Plus, right? I have no idea about Amazing Spider-Man. Thor Love and Thunder is probably cringe. And this is really sad. Like, people are going to come to me and they're going to be like, oh, you're an internalized misogyny. Look at all these women that you're shafting. Look, one of my favorite female character in MCU is Nebula. My second favorite is Black Widow. My third favorite might be Valkyrie if she wasn't being like positioned in such a way that she's shafting Thor. But I'm going to say it. Gamora, Nebula, and Black Widow are three powerful females that also have this vulnerability. And Jessica Jones is another one that I really liked. I thought Elektra had this wildness to her that was so fascinating, and I don't know, like it just kind of sucked you in, right? So for me, anyway, I'm just looking at this whole situation and I'm going, ah, like, why are you doing this to women? Now, you might be like, okay, Shang-Chi, what about Aquafina? I actually like Aquafina as an actress. And I think she did well for her role as a sidekick. And it's okay to have a woman as a sidekick. The moment with the arrow thing was pure cringe, but there was so much other good things going on for me that if I was going to move Shang-Chi anywhere downward, it would be over here, right? But I'm going to keep it up here because once again, there's something very powerful going on in terms of talking about walk moving into masculinity. And of course, one of the most interesting female characters that not a lot of people think about when they think about Marvel, and that is Tilda Swinton's Ancient One, which I thought was such a fascinating rendition of a spiritual female who is also very, I don't know, very accessible and interesting to watch. But I like Tilda, so that could be Tilda bias, right? So who knows? Also, Doctor Strange had Mads Mikkelsen in it, and Mads is hot as well. so, so there's a lot going on in Doctor Strange that I actually found very enjoyable, even though technically it's not necessarily like crazy well written. But if you like House and if you like Benedict Cumberbatch, I guess you could find something there to enjoy. But for me, if we're looking at thematics, what sets S and A apart from everybody else is they're saying something interesting and new about the human condition. And I just feel like a lot of comic book films aren't saying something necessarily new, and that's okay. We don't have to have like edgy stuff all the time, but it is nice when it's done well. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this tier list. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I'm nut bar completely off my rocker? What would you guys do? Let me know in the comments below. And if you see anything in my didn't watch list that you think I should be watching, also comment down below. But honestly, at this point, so these are things I haven't seen here. So if there's something here that I haven't seen that you think I should see, or if you want me to basically critically watch something to criticize it some more, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Take care.